In August 2023, World of Warcraft Classic Hardcore was released, with around 25 different dungeons. Each dungeon traditionally tackled by a group of 5. A tank to absorb most of the attacks, a healer to keep everybody alive, and 3 damage dealers to clear out the dungeon. But what happens when you don't have a group of 5? What if you're on your own? Can it still be done? That's the question I set out to answer. Can you solo every non-endgame dungeon in World of Warcraft? There are 16 dungeons in total that aren't designed for level 60 endgame content. And these are the ones I will focus on. I have one rule. I cannot outlevel the dungeon. Each dungeon has an intended level range and I need to stick to it, ensuring that every boss still yields experience. Today we are venturing into Gnomeregan, the 7th dungeon in our series of 16. Gnomeregan is a pretty big dungeon and presents 3 main challenges. First, there are very strong groups of enemy trash mobs with crazy damage output, making them nearly impossible to solo. Next, we got Alamobots. These little scouts will summon a swarm of enemies if they detect me.
Warning! Warning! Intruder alert! Intruder alert!
And the final test, Mechanir Thermaplug. He has not just huge amount of damage and health, he also summons bombs that explode upon contact.
Explosions! More explosions! I gotta have more explosions!
A quick introduction to my character, and the setup for this dungeon run. I'm playing a level 36 druid, just 2 levels above Mechanir Thermaplug. The level cap for this dungeon is level 38. I chose druid for this challenge because of its versatility the class offers. Like paladins, druids can both tank and heal, which is crucial for surviving long encounters. But what sets them apart is their ability to stealth, similar like rogues. This ability is a game changer, allowing me to bypass some nearly impossible obstacles that would otherwise be a roadblock. Now about my gear, it's pretty standard. I'm equipped with a mix of random green items along with a few rare drops. Nothing too fancy, but it gets the job done. I also learned engineering as profession. This gives me access to the target dummy. It's a lifesaver in emergency situations, drawing accros from enemies around it for a short time. Lastly, I got the handful of consumables for a little bit more health and damage. They might not seem like much, but in a tight spot, they can make all the difference. Oh, and before I forget, for some reason I decided to do all of this on hardcore. So I have only one single try for every fight I take, and if I die, I have to elite my character. The dungeon starts pretty straightforward. I can pull enemies one by one without ever risking much. I decided to clear all the trash to be able to run out of the dungeon without anything in my way. Keep in mind there are a few patrols that could lead to you having to fight 2 to 3 enemies at the same time. But even that shouldn't be too much of a problem. The first boss is actually quite hard. The sheer amount of trash spawning from the tunnels can very quickly overwhelm you. On top of that, you have to keep all the aggro away from the NPC, otherwise the event fails and you cannot spawn the boss. This is why I already started using full consumables on the first boss. But with all my buffs, thorns and swipe, I managed to get the trash pretty quickly under control. Oh, and make sure to stay away from the tunnels when they explode, otherwise your character will die. The boss itself spawns once everything has been cleared, but he's very straightforward. Focus first on Chomper, the crocodile, to reduce the overall damage. Once you get low, stun Grubbers to heal yourself back up. And as always, a huge amount of experience as a reward on solo hardcore for killing the bosses. This time 15,000 experience. For the next boss, the Viscous Fallout, I decided to clear out as much trash as possible. The trash is kinda simple here, you can pull them one by one. The boss itself is even easier, and actually very underwhelming. I barely lost any health, making him a free encounter. I decided I wanted to do all the quests in Gnomeregan. This meant I had to clear quite a lot of trash before the next boss, to collect the essential artifacts. The groups can become pretty big here, and there are patrols everywhere, so I had to be very careful. On top of that, you got Alamobots, which can wipe you in seconds if you don't pay attention. Luckily, you can pretty much one-shot them. Coming to the boss itself. He's not as weak at Risk of Fallout, but also didn't create any issues. With a few heals in between, I could kill him long before I run out of mana. On the way to the next boss, we again have huge trash groups and Alamo bots. I decided to snipe the Alamo bots beforehand while they are alone. And then stealth through the trash mobs directly to the boss, making this much riskier because now I don't have a wait out once something goes wrong. The Crowd Pummeler 960 has a knockback that could kick you off the platform, so I positioned myself against the wall. He also hits actually pretty hard, but I managed to kill him before I run out of mana. Now comes the scary part, stealthing to the last boss. There's so much trash on the way that I decided against slowly killing them, and instead running past everything. The problem here is though, that if anything detects me, I'm dead, and my character run would end. On top of that, you have Alamo bots that can detect you in stealth, and I can't kill them without pulling more mobs, as he has everything standing super close together. But I got super lucky. Nothing found me on the way, and somehow I went in the exact same pattern when no Alamo bots were running down this path. Finally, I reached the last door, but there I encountered 3 big adds. And there was no way I could kill 3 of them at the same time. I decided to try something by standing in the furthest corner and wait until they stand as far as possible apart from each other. As soon the nullifier stood alone, I pulled him, and for some reason it didn't aggro any of the other 2 mobs, making this much easier. Now I did the same with the Dark Iron Agent. They are not too hard by themselves, but they will plant a bomb on the floor and then start running in a random direction, possibly pulling more adds. I managed to charge him and catch him beforehand, and then defuse the bomb with Moonfire. The final boss and challenge of this run, Mechany Thermaplug. If you do this boss as a group, you usually have a tank standing in the middle of the room while the damage dealers are clicking on the red buttons on the side of the room to prevent the boss from spawning walking bombs. But I was doing this alone, and there was no way I could be able to click all the buttons while fighting the boss itself. So I decided to pull the boss into one corner of the room and then start to kite him. Before the dungeon, I enchanted my boots with faster running, hoping this would be enough to outrun the bombs. And it actually worked pretty well. The bombs even started to reset once I got far away. But I couldn't win the race against the boss without healing, so I had to make a decision. Heal and risk getting hit by the bombs, or keep running and making this a super close encounter. I decided to stun the boss and go for a heal. But there was a bomb I didn't see, much closer than I thought, instantly removing all the health I got from my heal. I had no choice but go for a proper full heal at this point. There was no room behind me to kite more, and in front of me was a boss with an army of walking bombs. I decided to go for a full healing touch, but with every hit the boss did, my healing was pushed back, delayed further and further. I started to get nervous and hovered with my mouse over the healing potion. But it got so close to my healing getting fully through that I committed to casting the heal. And I thought I got it through, but in reality all the bombs exploded on me, fully reset my healing cast. In that panic moment, I didn't even get my healing potion through. I instantly transformed back to bear form to give me a second to think this through. I was almost dead and my mana was under 50%. And then another bomb hit me, making me go down to 300 health. I decided to run, go into cat form and sprint away. I tried to think of anything I could do, from using my Light of a Loon and Heartstone to going for a mana potion and healing back up. I turned around and the boss did a reset. Actually run far enough for the boss to just reset and make me go out of combat. My heart was pounding at this point, and I couldn't believe my luck. I took a quick breather and did a full reset, healing back up, recovering all my mana and health. Then, when I wanted to go for another try, I noticed how all the bombs from the first attempt didn't explode. They just stood there with the boss. In that moment I didn't think much of it. I thought I could just outrun them like I did in my first attempt. Everything worked well, until all of a sudden the boss knocked me into the air into one of the bombs. I instantly got dazed and slowed, and all of the other bombs caught up with me. I went for a full heal, but at this point I already was out of mana and the boss was at 80% life. Luckily at this point I knew what to do. I went into cat form and sprinted away. And it worked very well, the boss resets quickly. While I was waiting for some cooldowns to come back and healing fully up, I analyzed the 2 first tries and noticed that the explosions of the bombs are actually not fire damage but physical. So for my next pull I had a different strategy. I took a stone skin potion to increase my armor by 1000. This makes it risky because now all my potions, including Light of the Loon, are on cooldown for 2 minutes. But I put as many healing over time effects on me as possible, and then pull the boss and just stood still. The idea was to burst down the boss as quickly as possible, while letting the bombs explode on me while I had the potion, significantly reducing the incoming damage. This actually worked really well, and by the time I had to heal myself for the first time, the boss already lost 1/3 of his health. At this point my potion was running out, so I started kiting again like I did on my first try. Everything went well until I got to 20%. I got to the end of the boss room, and I was in a similar situation than in my first try. I couldn't continue running, but standing still meant all the bombs would connect with me. But then an idea came to my mind. What if I placed a target dummy behind the boss? Would that pull the boss and the bombs away, giving me enough time to heal up? And it worked perfectly. I got back to full life while all the bombs exploded on the dummy. Nothing can go wrong now, right? There's something I forgot. As soon as the boss hits 20%, he starts running slower, resulting in me not be able to run away and kite him while hitting him to avoid the bombs. At this point I should have just stood still and do as much damage as possible, but I started to kite and didn't realize I couldn't hit him, wasting a lot of time while more and more bombs started spawning. One bomb after the next started to catch up with me, and my health dropped faster and faster. The boss was super low now and I decided to just stand my ground. It came down to this last water attack. I needed to kill him now or never. The last bomb was walking towards me while I only had 20% life left. My attack hit and Mechanier finally went down. I quickly kited the last bomb and finished the Druid solo hardcore Gnomeregan run.